Quick heads up, today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. Clerics, ghouls, inquisitors, skeletons, vampires, vampire hunters, werewolves, Batman, angels, demons, guns, double guns, rifles, massive churches, massive imperial towns, massive gothic castles, 10 factions constantly at war, from sewers to manors to graveyards to hell itself. There are countless dungeons, most of them with their own questlines. Speaking of questlines, there are tens of them, with multiple endings, morally questionable stories, and permanent outcomes. This is World of Vasnar, the ultimate gothic fantasy mod for Warband. It's set in the 18th century and heavily inspired by Bloodborne, from the aesthetic to the lore. And we'll be playing as Lady Maria. Some of you may know her from Bloodborne, but I'll be changing her story a bit to better fit this setting. She was a half-vampire, born to a vampire father and a human mother, but she always hated her gift, and her father as well. She couldn't stomach the treacherous actions of her paternal side. She was too decent to suck the blood of her fellow humans. So she managed to overcome her bloodthirst, rejected her ancestry, and started living like a human, not just any human, but as a vampire huntress. She became the gothic Paarthurnax.
What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
And this is the story of her journey, from a simple vampire huntress to a holy priestess of the Church of the Tree, to finally embracing her gift, becoming the bloodiest vampire empress to ever walk the earth. We can start as a human, a vampire, or even a king. We'll stay human for now. I picked my birthplace as the haunted coast of Nilia, as it is the province with the most guns. My father was a bravo. I spent my early life as a ship captain, and my reason for adventuring was personal revenge, just filling these out to give Maria maximum strength and firearms proficiency. I put all the extra points into agility, then weapon master, athletics and inventory management, as you can't make your companions do it for you. Sadly, the mod doesn't have white hair color, so Lady Maria will have to be blonde. Then, I set my starting location as Stygia, as it is the human province with the most undead monsters and depressed people, similar to Sturland from Warhammer, and also has the headquarters of the vampire hunters. I walked around their capital a bit, then bought the cheapest horse available. Then I found a weaponsmith. He had grenades, but even more importantly, Reiter pistols, 2 guns that shoot twice, basically the automatic rifle of their time. But first, we needed to find 3000 gold. Then I found Vardrik inside the tavern, an archmage and famous astronomer, though we were too broke for him as well. Then I found Annegret. She was a native Stygian, so a bit mean. She was busy locating vampires inside the tavern, and she was working for their liberator, the High Count. Yes, liberator. Stygia had been under the control of vampire counts for years. Its people were used as blood cattle and had only recently been liberated. She said part of the populace of Stygia had started developing grey faces and bloodshot eyes, some sort of disease that might be connected to the vampires. She wanted our help finding out what was going on with these people. After a bit of persuasion, she even agreed to pay us, and so we got our first companion for free. Maria asked her what she thought about half-vampires. Annegret said they were a vile breed and should be staked like any other vampire. Fortunately, she doesn't really know how to spot a half-vampire. Annegret was an orphan thief, and when she got caught by the High Count, instead of executing her, he made her his little spy, which explains her attitude. Our first destination was Stethof Hamlet, a village that had been used as a hiding place for vampires. But before entering the village, Maria spotted a ghoul party of 36, 3 cavalry and the rest all infantry. My gun should be enough to handle this, thought Maria, and engaged, ordering Annegret to retreat. Yeah, we are leaving them alone for now. What about taking a break from shooting the undead and shoot some tanks instead? War Thunder, it's the biggest vehicle combat game ever made, and honestly, it's kind of a flex that it's completely free on PC, consoles and mobile. If you haven't tried it yet, you're leaving real fun on the table. We're talking over 2,500 tanks, planes, ships, and choppers from 10 different nations. You can start in a 1920s biplane that feels like it's held together by duct tape and prayers, and work your way up to modern-day fighter jets and main battle tanks. The graphics and engine sounds are actually insane. It's the closest you'll get to being at the helm of a war machine. Join over 95 million players and jump into the chaos. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile devices now by using my links in the pinned comment or description. New or returning players on PC and consoles who haven't played in 6 months get a massive bonus pack. Premium vehicles, the Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions and 7 days of premium. It's limited time, so go grab it before it's gone. Back to the video. We entered the village and spoke with the elder. He didn't know the common tongue, so Annegret became the translator. He refused to say anything about the disease, so Annegret abused the shit out of the old man until he agreed to speak. We had to investigate a suspicious chest inside the nearby ruins. We made our way there, and inside the chest was a strange spice. After taking it, 3 vampires cornered and attacked us. One of the best things about this mod is that the missions work with checkpoint systems, so rather than just getting imprisoned and failing the quest, you can retry the mission as many times as you want without having to reload the save. We won thanks to Annegret. 2 thugs were dead, but the leader was still breathing. After talking about some vampiric imperialism type of shit, she explained what the spice was. It's basically an addictive drug, and they are using it to weaken the minds of humans, so they can control them more easily. The vampire, unsurprisingly, refused to tell us where they produced the spice, so Maria just let Annegret slaughter her instead. We returned to the Elder. He confessed he had been bribed by the vampires. He couldn't resist the shinies, and he told us the location of the person who sold him the spices. Annegret said the Elder was going to be executed for high treason. The Elder didn't fight back. Before finding the seller, I spotted the 30 ghouls and tried my luck again. By the way, difficulty is maxed on every setting. First, I tried dealing with the cavalry using my gun, but then I realized it was much more efficient to use the sword instead. Then I used the gun to clear the infantry. However, our 1 stack of ammo wasn't enough to clear all of them. We had to retreat to restock, but even though I was mounted and really far away from their forces, I still took 30% damage, which put us into the wounded state. After using my skill point on Iron Flesh, we were able to engage again. After emptying all the bullets, 9 of them died. We retreated and thankfully didn't get damaged this time. After clearing all the vulnerable ghouls, the 3 shielded ones started running away. We finished them with the sword, got a nice head and a decent coat upgrade, and advanced to level 5. I put 2 attribute points into intelligence, then spread the rest as usual. We'll focus heavily on combat for the early game, but later shift more and more into magic. The loot sold for 1000. We bought another stack of ammo, though we still needed another 1,500 for the double pistols. I found the famous Liberator, the High Count, and got a bounty hunting quest. Annegret killed the criminal for us, then we insulted a count, gaining renown but losing relationship. Then we traveled to the seller's location and found a hostile party of 30. It was clear their leader was high on spice. He said they would cut off our heads and have fun with Annegret. The fuckers were all infantry, so we cheesed them to death. Then we found a sober guy. He said they were forcing him to drink the spice. He also saw the real seller traveling to a nearby cave. We upgraded our armor, used the skill points on strength, cleared a small thief party, sold the loot, then traveled to the cave. I kept trying over and over again, and kept dying over and over again. The moment we moved, everyone in the cave got alerted for some reason. On the bright side, each attempt was still increasing our level. After trying and failing for 20 minutes, we had reached level 11. I left the cave and wandered into the vampire lands. I found some villagers, but no matter what kind of cunts they served, Maria couldn't kill the innocent, so I attacked the Tower Keeper's party instead. The keepers were insanely tanky. It took 6 headshots to kill a single one. Their mage started summoning skeleton archers. Maria managed to kill him, but he summoned another group of archers before falling. It was hopeless. So I attacked the vampire patrol of 30 instead. There were no summoners in their party, but they had some cavalry. I tried a couple of times and failed, so I gave up on them and returned to the one with the mage. He one-shotted me. Then I kept dying. But in one lucky battle, he got separated from his infantry while summoning. After a few hits, he fell. Now it was only the infantry against our gun. After emptying our 2 ammo bags, we retreated, did it again, and gained 7 renown. I continued hunting small parties and finally bought the Reiter pistols. They were able to shoot 4 times before reloading. It was time to show those cave dwellers who the boss was. Yeah, they're still the boss. But after a few more tries, I finally managed to clear the first section of the cave. There was a gate at the end. I entered. Montespan, the master of spice, was waiting for us. His defense was simple. Make drugs, not war. Never interrupt your enemy when he is overdosing the fuck out of your drug. Then he decided to kill us, so he could put our flayed corpses on his walls for amusement, and he did it without a challenge. The killing part, I mean. Worst part is, there was no checkpoint. We had to clear all those thugs again to reach the vampire lord. We reached him again, and died again. At least we leveled up nicely, reaching 18 strength and 15 agility. I plan to put all future points into intelligence, as our strength and agility should already be enough to wear almost every armor and use every weapon efficiently. I left the cave again and tried to help a Stygian lord defeat a vampire count. We got absolutely smoked. So I escaped and left the lord to become the plaything of the undead. Then I got a tax collection quest from another lord. However, the villagers tried to kill us with their cleavers and scythes, while we only had sticks to defend ourselves. We got butchered. So I reloaded the save and recruited the Archmage from the beginning of the video for 1000. He had 5 magic power, 2 projectile spells, and was already confident with sticks. We returned to the village and by positioning ourselves better, managed to beat the villagers and collect the taxes. Obviously, we had no intention of bringing that money to the Lord. Proper Warband gaming. I visited the Vampire Hunter Lodge. Their leader gave me a quest to hunt a nearby heavily armored vampire party. I recruited 5 of his crossbow troops to aid me. I attacked the vampire party near a Stygian lord, but he refused to help. We got one-shotted. Then again. The Grand Vampire Hunter wasn't kidding. All of them were heavily armored, but at least the majority of their forces were infantry. So, by doing the usual cheese. Well, we eventually managed to beat them. An insane armor piece dropped from the loot, plus 60 chest armor, doubling the defense of our coat. But, because it was heavy armor, it also reduced our athletics. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to take. I took the prize of 1,800 gold from the lodge. Then, we helped a village infested by bandits. The villagers were useless, but our double pistols easily took care of the shieldless bandits. Maria refused the peasants' reward, gaining honor in the process. She really was wife material. We hunted a necro-alchemist for the lodge, then a vampire outcast party of 30. They had cavalry that threw blood magic. But there is nothing enough tries can't fix. Then I found a strong Stygian helmet with plus 60 head armor for 6000. Then plate boots and a Zweihander, much sharper, faster and longer than our current sword. However, we were out of money. I tried to get some by joining the arena, but got my ass handed to me. Confident with my new armor, I attacked a demon party of 40. It wasn't a great idea. After clearing 2 vampire patrols, definitely on the first try, I returned to Silburn and bought the Zweihander. I cleared more patrols and finally returned to the cave. Maria was now stronger in every way. The time for reckoning had come. Annegret plunged straight into his chest. The vampire lord was dead. Then she planted her grenades and blew up the entire cave along with all the spice. The quest was completed. She gifted us 4,000 gold and Stygian half-plate armor. Our relationship with the province and the High Count also increased. It was time to say goodbye to Annegret. She had to return to her duty beside the High Count. Maria was sure going to miss this redhead, but her adventure was just beginning. There were many more souls waiting to meet her and even more mysteries to solve. The half-plate armor was even better than our vampire armor, but it looked much worse, so I decided not to use it. Then, near the vampire cave, we found a cavernous tomb belonging to ancient times. There were quite a lot of skeletons, but nothing our 2 pistols couldn't handle. At the end of the bridge, there was a helmet, chest piece, and 2-handed sword, all slightly weaker than our current gear. Deep inside the catacombs, there was a sunken citadel. The skeletons inside had much better armor, and their positioning was straight up evil. But after a few tries, I managed to clear the first horde. In the following room, there was a necromancer. His summons ganged up on Maria and beat her to death. Then I died again. Sniping him before entering the room fixed the issue. I progressed through the dungeon. At the end, there was the throne room of Sauron or something. I shot the Lich before he could do anything nasty. The room was absolutely gorgeous, and there was a tiny skeleton sitting on the throne, their long-gone king. There was a chest next to it. Inside was the shield of the king. A powerful necromancer would be able to unleash his soul. Unfortunately, Lady Maria isn't a powerful necromancer, she's just a cute sword kitten. I searched for more loot inside the dungeon. There were some crazy-looking flame guys I had to shoot. Inside one chest was a Geist Essence, which will allow us to summon gargoyles after becoming a vampire. Then I found a hidden wall by striking it with my sword. It works exactly like in the Souls games, which is pretty fucking cool. Inside there were some skeletons, lots of gold piles, and a chest. Honest to God, I shit myself while recording this. Mimics inside Warband. What a day to be alive. Inside the Mimic, we found another chest upgrade and equipped it this time. Then, inside the tavern, I found Warren Stolz, a police investigator hunting a criminal who had been on the run for 10 years. Though it seemed he didn't have the slightest clue where the criminal was, he still joined our party for free. I guess there was nothing better to do without any leads. He was skilled at scouting and decent in combat. I gifted him some gear. He'll be the one we bring into the dungeons. Next, I found the buried city of Ithilien. Inside, there was a blind priestess. She warned us that the city had been sealed for years, and that inside there was nothing but death and despair. Apparently, the city was once a place of holiness and respite, but then a curse devoured it, thanks to the archbishop of the city. He was a decent man, but a little dumb and kind of a coward. When the demons attacked the city and fought the Crusaders, a fiend approached the bishop, offering to end the town's suffering. The bishop agreed. Then the fiend killed everyone with a plague, only to reanimate them as ghouls and slaughter them over and over again without ever getting bored. The bishop was still alive, though his brain had completely rotted away, and now he guarded the gate to the fiend that released the plague. And this was our mission. Killing the fiend would end the curse. But the city was blocked by a ward, so we first had to find a scholar to break it. So we left the blind priestess, traveled to Silburn, and found the scholar. After entering the buried city again, the priestess was gone, and the scholar had failed to break the ward. However, he had found a sewer that led into the city. Unfortunately, he was too scared to come with us, but he handed us a healing spell to use. But who needs health when you have guns? After clearing the town center, I found a Moonsilver armor set, which was a nice upgrade over our already strong chest gear. Then we entered the cathedral. Inside, the ghoul bishop was waiting. After finishing him and his bodyguards, we got some loot to sell and entered the sanctum where the fiend was waiting. His name was Hamon, and his design was sick as fuck. He said he had truly granted the bishop's wish, as the ghouls could no longer feel pain, so he really had ended the town's suffering. Wholesome guy. But now he wanted Maria dead so he could continue his little game. His demons ganked her and Maria actually died. Anyways, we returned and managed to cover some distance before the demons spawned. After clearing them, Hamon rose from his throne, but 2 pistol shots took care of the incompetent fucker. Sadly, we couldn't take the massive piles of gold with us, and the chests were uninteractable. But outside, the priestess was waiting. She took the bishop's sword from us and transformed it into the Moonlight Blade, a traditional weapon of all Soulsborne games. The scholars said they could bring the Moonlight Order of this forgotten city back to life by persuading the church, which probably allows us to recruit Moonlight troops, and then he left. As for the Moonlight Blade, it's a 2-handed weapon with 55 cutting damage, which is absolutely bonkers. It's fast, long, and enchanted, with +1 leadership and magic power. It's also holy, which I guess makes it deal extra damage to the undead. Miles better than our Zweihander. So I equipped it and recruited an alchemist, Victor Flagast. He would work as our surgeon and engineer once we started dealing with sieges. I continued leveling intelligence, inventory management, and trainer. Then we moved to the next dungeon of Stygia, the old manor. Inside it was more of a castle than a manor. It was empty other than a single deranged looter. I checked everywhere for hidden walls but couldn't find any. After leaving and entering again, the hidden wall finally spawned. I destroyed the illusion and moved deeper into the manor. The place was filled with stone statues. It was obvious what was going to happen, but I still shit my pants nonetheless. By defeating the statues one by one, I progressed deeper and deeper. Nice. I cleared the whole manor again and barely managed to defeat the fiery wraith. Our reward was accursed demonic armor infused with the life essence of countless sacrifices, vestige of flesh. It had incredible resistances, but more importantly, it had a spell effect that either damaged us for 5 points or healed us for 12. I'm not great at math, but this should result in passive health regeneration if fate doesn't completely fuck us. It also looked way cooler than the moon silver armor. I equipped the healing spell in case we got too unlucky, and after selling the loot, I bought an oil press. Enterprises in this mod usually aren't very profitable, but as far as I know, we don't really have any alternative ways to gain passive income. Our next target was an abandoned asylum. It had been used for unspeakable torture and inhumane experiments, and now we were here to find some loot. The flaming sword reward at the end wasn't even close to the strength of our moonlight blade, so we didn't really get much out of the asylum. I guess it's more of an early game area. Our next target was a vampire outcast cave. It was similar to the spice cave, wasn't too hard, and the rewards weren't impressive either. Then we found a vampire party of 4 near the cave, with 37 prisoners. They were dealt with easily, and the high-tier mercenary prisoners joined us, increasing our party size to 16. Our archmage liked our surgeon. Then we found a dark raid party. They looked very similar to the Dark Souls versions. After a hefty battle, we won and earned 20 renown. More prisoners joined us. Then came the next dungeon, the drowned mausoleum of Alcatraz, an ancient city that had become a hideout for deranged necromancers. Through skeletons and raids, we pushed forward in the name of great loot and gold. At the end of the ruins, we found the helmet of Sauron. It provided massive boost to leeches, which made it useless for Maria, but the Drakenhair sword had stats very close to the Moonlight blade. We sold our massive hoard of loot and found our next companion, Austargaos, an edgy weirdo who got bullied as a child, so now he worships the devil and wants to end the world. He also killed his family and hates concepts like honor, mercy and compassion, so a pretty good addition to the party in my opinion. Our weekly wages had risen to 1000, so I released the mercenaries under my command and recruited some peasants instead. Then the High Count asked for our surgeon for 1 week. We gave him up, recruited more peasants and became mercenaries for Stygia. In Warband, mercenary contracts pay a fixed amount based on your weekly wages, unlike Bannerlord where you get paid based on performance. So we could just sign the contract and continue doing whatever we wanted, without ever lifting a finger for Stygia. Knowing Stygia would pay for it, I recruited as many high-tier troops as I could from the lodges. This is why communism always fails, guys. You pay people based on the value they bring, not how much they need. I saved some villagers, refused the reward to gain honor, and traveled to Devilthorn Lodge, a group of fiend hunters with one of the best armor sets in the game. I recruited some of their troops and started their questline. It was about an ancient order known as the Gilded Knights. They had disappeared years ago and survived only in legends and tales. But according to many recent reports, ghosts wearing their legendary armor had started appearing, riding skeletal horses and killing everything in their path. So the lodge sent us to investigate whether the rumors were true. And true they were. The gilded fuckers were strong. 50 of our troops died. We took one of their cursed armors, and after hunting down a nervous cultist, I returned to the lodge. The High Cleric investigated the armor. As it turned out, something evil and incredibly powerful had resurrected the corpses of these knights from Winterroot Forest. He marked the location of the fortress on my map, then sent me to kill those blasphemous necromancers, because apparently he and his soldiers were too busy to lift a finger. The forest was shrouded in a green mist, with cultists and gilded knights protecting their hideout. We found the altar. After killing the minions, the ritual master was so shocked that he became completely paralyzed, so we shot him to death. For ending these heretics, the High Cleric gifted us his hammer. According to the wiki, the hammer heals the player with every swing. It's one-handed though, so Maria will pass on that. I recruited more Devil-Torn troops, then defeated a demon party with the help of a Stygian lord. It was time to tackle one of the mod's main questlines, the Inquisitors of Ollenborg. The village had some serious problems with blood taxes. Vampires were kidnapping one villager every night. Apparently, they had even kidnapped the village priest. So, the Inquisitors of the church came to end the problem once and for all. After entering the chapel, we met the Inquisitors. Emilia is the reasonable second in command, Ormond is the arrogant captain, and Varian is mostly here to lord dump. The village had lived for generations under the rule of House Batrovir. Their leader, the Bloody Mistress, was known to bathe in the blood of the innocent to maintain her beauty, which explains where their name comes from. Their scout, Henrik, had found a way into Batrovir Castle through tunnels inhabited by mutated bats. With the help of the Inquisitors, we marched deeper into the castle. Inside the hall, their lady was waiting for us. That bloodbathing seems to be working quite well, because I'm honestly bricked up.
Silence, wench. I do not wish to be horny anymore.
The lady called Ormond an ill-mannered beast, and said a real beast he soon shall become. This is foreshadowing, as you'll soon see. We introduced moonlight to her face, then Ormond made extra sure by crushing it over and over again with his morning star. We found the missing priest inside the dungeons of the castle. It was clear the poor guy was traumatized. He asked us to tear down the castle stone by stone, but Ormond refused. He wanted to turn this cursed castle into the new seat of operations for his order. Then a new character, Sister Annalise, arrived and said there is nothing holier than turning evil into good. Guess that makes sense. The village priest gave up on persuading these fools and left the castle. The questline would continue after a few days, once the order had established itself in the castle. Meanwhile, I attacked the Russians of this mode as they were at war with Stygia. 80 of our troops versus their 120. I positioned my soldiers on a hill and waited for the enemy to slowly march forward. We gained 14 renown, but 14 of our men died. We released the Lord to gain honor, then found the High Count to take back our surgeon. Then the messenger finally arrived, saying Ormond was waiting for us at the restored Batrovir Castle. But before traveling there, I entered the tavern, flipped a coin, won, and earned 250 gold, then rented a room for 3,000. With a fireplace, a nice bed, and a humongous chest, it was everything Maria needed. Rooms in this mod work differently. They basically teleport to every town you enter, allowing you to access your stored items wherever you need them. Considering we have plenty of quest rewards that I might eventually use or give to companions, it's definitely a wonderful feature. I returned to the castle, which had been reformed into the Bastion of Vigilance, with many vampire corpses hanging as decoration. Ormond gifted us an extricator armor set as thanks, then gave us our next task. According to his informants, the village priest we rescued earlier had been seen performing pagan rituals during the harvest celebration. He wanted him arrested, but his men couldn't find him, so he sent us to investigate. Emilia would also aid us in this quest. We returned to the village. Emilia asked us to speak with the other two Inquisitor captains. We found Henrik inside a stable. He had basically arrested everyone without any proof by abusing the church's authority. The prisoner beside him didn't look entirely happy either. He sent us to find Sister Annalise, who was tasked with making the prisoners talk. We found her near the execution block. When Maria asked how she made the prisoners talk, she assured us that she only used standard methods, these being the wheel, branding, tooth removal, and skinning. And through all this bloodshed, the only thing she got were contradictory testimonies that made no sense, and she still had no idea where the priest was hiding. What a surprise! It definitely couldn't have anything to do with the prisoners making random shit up just to stop the torture. We returned to Emilia and told her how terribly the investigation had been handled. She agreed with us, then told us the priest's location, trusting that we would do the right thing. While searching for him, we found even more piles of corpses thrown away like trash. Then we found the priest hiding inside the ruins. He explained that those pagan rituals weren't anything satanic, and that his rural village still had deep connections to their ancestors' pagan traditions. So, what countryside priests like him did was reconcile the old beliefs with the teachings of the Three, allowing them to spread their religion with tolerance instead of force while avoiding conflict with the villagers' superstitions. On top of that, these practices were not only known by the church, but also officially approved. So Ormond was torturing innocent villagers because he had no fucking idea about the religion that gave him power. The priest also told us it was probably about the castle as well. The curse within those walls was spreading like a disease through the veins of the Inquisitors. We helped the priest escape and gained honor. Then we returned to Emilia. She said Ormond was already on the church's blacklist because of his overzealous behavior, and that she had been sent to observe him and testify against his actions. She asked us to travel to the Inquisitor keep in the center of the map and report Ormond's actions to the Grand Inquisitor. So we traveled to the lands of the Church of the Tree. Our first stop was Heron's Grace Monastery. There, I recruited some of their high-tier troops, since Stygia would be paying for it anyway. Then I started buying profitable enterprises in church-controlled towns to further increase our weekly income. Eventually, I traveled to the Inquisitor Keep and met the Grand Inquisitor. After recruiting some of their high-tier troops, I informed him of Ormond's actions. He wasn't very surprised. He had always known Ormond was a bad apple. He authorized us to finish him off, alone as always. On the way back, I bought more enterprises in Archduchy towns and found the convent of Saint Inveris, an order of battle mages with a dangerous obsession with fire. I bought some fireballs from them, basically explosives with strong damage. Unfortunately, our magic power wasn't high enough yet, and they couldn't be used on horseback, so we passed on them for now. After dealing with some thugs, recruiting another surgeon companion for first aid and wound treatment skills, joining a tournament and earning 20 renown and 8,000 gold, I found the claimant to the throne of the vampire counts. Maria wasn't going to support any vampires, but it was cool to see the mod having its own claimants with unique stories. I continued buying enterprises and joining tournaments along the way. Meanwhile, the Stygians were getting absolutely raw-dogged by the vampires, but we were too busy with internal cleansing for now. After entering Oldenburg, I found the village consumed by flames. The villagers had all been slaughtered like pigs. The Inquisitors stood silently as the remains of the village turned to ash. Henrik yapped something about the great work. They were planning to do this to all of Vasnar, and this village was only the beginning. But thanks to Maria's amazing persuasion skills, Henrik came back to his senses. He also said all this evil was coming from that cursed castle. The other Inquisitors, however, were still completely brainwashed. With Henrik's help, we avenged the villagers. He was too weak to continue, so we ventured into the castle alone. Sister Annalise spotted us. She had gone completely batshit insane. She rambled about Ormond ascending and other crazy shit until we introduced moonlight to her skull. At the end of the castle, we found Ormond transformed into one of the bat creatures we had hunted earlier. He believed this form was a gift from the tree and that all humans were weak shells waiting to be transformed. He was easy to kill, but then his guts exploded and from within emerged the bloody mistress. I guess that means she possessed him before her death or something. She almost managed to kill us, but Maria emerged victorious. At the end of the hall lay countless sacrifices, along with Emilia's body. The poor girl had been too brave to wait for us. May the tree bless her soul. We also got Ormond's two-handed mace, another weapon that wasn't even remotely close to the strength of the Moonlight Blade. After helping a Stygian lord defeat a vampire count and clearing a demonic altar hideout, I returned to the Inquisitor Keep to report back to the Grand Inquisitor. He was devastated after learning about Emilia's death. He also ordered the Stygian authorities to destroy the castle and relocate the order to the burnt village instead. He rewarded us with 10,000 gold, and our relationship with the church increased to 15. Spoiler alert, that relationship will drop to absolutely abyssal levels once the time comes for Maria to make her dark decision. Then, inside a tavern in Kirch, she met a man named Horvik the White. A vampire hunter and leader of a small lodge independent from the church. Maria wanted to join him, but he asked her to prove herself first by killing a vampire outcast hiding in a nearby cave. She was heavily armored for a lone outcast, but Moonlight one-shotted her nonetheless. We returned to Horvik and told him about the Crimson Plate armor. He told us not to worry about that for now and to meet him later at the lodge. Inside the lodge, a woman was waiting beside him. She seemed to know an unusual amount about vampires. The vampire we slayed belonged to a house called the Ankermean Purebloods. They weren't your usual vampires, they were racist vampires. They killed half vampires in the name of purifying their bloodline, which also put Maria in danger. But that wasn't the reason Hervik called us here. The woman beside him, Hermenegild, was also a Dhampir, a half-blooded vampire. Her mother was a vampire, and her father was human. She had lived alongside her father in a small hamlet, but one day vampires came to abduct her, resulting in her father's death. As for her mother, she used to visit her in the middle of the night, but one day, she simply stopped coming. Hermenegild believed it was because her mother had grown bored of her. Hervik was the one who rescued her from the abducting vampires, but neither of them ever learned why she had been targeted. Since the church might not care much about saving half-blood vampires, we were Hervik's only hope for eliminating those racist pigs. So we set up camp near Bloodgate to discover where their lair was hidden. While listening to Herwig lore dump about Bloodgate, its walls holding against Imperial armies, and the bloodshed giving the gate its name, we heard a vampire party riding nearby. It was the racist purebloods. They had smelled our half-blood scent. After decorating the forest with their corpses, their captured leader agreed to speak, as honor in their tradition demanded the defeated give the victor what they wanted. Maria asked to learn where their order resided. He gave us the location, confident that his lord would bring us to our knees. Herwig killed the vampire, then Hermenegild mentioned she had heard that keep's name before. Herwig left to gather soldiers to storm the keep. We met near the fortress. Herwig had even recruited some mercenaries who wanted revenge for their ancestors that died at Bloodgate. They blew open the gate with explosives, then we marched against the disorganized undead. I actually died quite a lot during the assault. The high-tier vampires were no joke. They were even stronger than Maria, with over 400 combat skills and insane equipment. But by letting our mercenaries die first, I eventually managed to clear all of them. Inside the keep was Count Malachi, their lord. He insulted Hermenegild by calling her a stain upon his bloodline. As it turned out, this guy was actually Hermenegild's grandfather. He believed his daughter was a harlot for mating with a human. He had killed her and placed her skull upon his throne so her mother could watch as he purified their bloodline. Underworld Victor type of shit. We avenged Hermenegild's parents. Then Maria approached her. She had never felt that close to someone before. The shared trauma had created a genuine connection between them. The two started sucking each other's saliva like desperate kittens searching for milk, right in front of the mother's skull and Herwig. It was the hottest shit he had ever seen in his life. Then it was time to say farewell. Hermenegild would spend the following years trying to reduce the racism between vampires and humans, while Lady Maria would continue searching for infinite power and total domination over the vampire khans. She is also racist, but she's on our side. Eventually, the two would cross paths again. The quest rewards were mediocre. Then I entered the Forsaken Manor, an endgame dungeon, and continued the vampire pesticide campaign. Near the end, I found a slight upgrade for our helmet. Then I got one-shotted by the Forsaken King. Thankfully, there was a checkpoint. After using my companions to defeat the king, I found his crown. It could be pretty good for pure mage characters, but the armor value was too low for Maria. After clearing out some bandits and visiting a gorgeous church, I traveled to Mornstead. A cleric and a witch hunter were having a heated argument. The cleric accused the witch hunter of punishing innocents without evidence, just like the corrupted Inquisitors, and the witch hunter accused the cleric of doing nothing but praying. Both had been sent by the church to investigate witches with demonic powers in the area. It was clear these two were not compatible, so Maria stepped in and sided with the cleric, leaving the witch hunter disappointed. First, we investigated the outskirts. The crows were acting strangely, almost like they were watching us, and the air felt like it was choking us. It was clear the place was unnatural. We moved into the village and interrogated the locals. They pointed us toward a man named Hansel. The guy was down horrendous, catcalling a female fly levels of bad. But he was useful. He had seen 3 strange women entering Kemeric's house recently. Kemeric hated outsiders with a passion, which made the whole thing even stranger. I found him. He didn't like my questions and decided a bullet hole would fit nicely in my face. After that, he confessed he had let 3 beautiful women into his house, though he didn't know why. Normally, he wouldn't even let his neighbors inside. Maybe they just weren't hot enough. But he also couldn't remember what happened inside the house, almost like they had erased his memory. The only things he remembered were their hair colors and their southern accents. Meanwhile, our cleric had learned about a suspicious cave nearby. He asked whether we should kill the witches or try to speak with them. Maria wanted to talk. The black-haired witch agreed to surrender if Maria could answer her riddles. The first riddle was, I was born with 4 legs, walked with 2 legs, and died with 3 legs. What am I? I answered, human, because we crawl after being born, and maybe die with 3 legs because our balls get too saggy or something. It was the correct answer. Then she asked another riddle. I'm not even going to try reading it because it fried my brain. She attacked us for giving the wrong answer, so we killed them. Then we found a letter from one of the witches. It read, Love you, Hofing, yours always. Hofing was our cleric's name. He gave us our reward, then walked away, looking incredibly depressed. Unable to comprehend what the fuck had just happened, Maria traveled to her next target, Devil's Mouth, a breach leading straight into the underworld, where the demons came from. It was said to be the hardest dungeon in the entire mod, and it supposedly contained the strongest armor set in the game, so we tried our luck. After a few deaths, we managed to get our hands on the first piece of the armor set, demonic boots, plus 40 armor, much better than our current pair. Then we moved deeper into hell. Then we found the next piece, demonic gauntlets, double the armor of our gilded ones. We moved deeper. I tried a bit more, but it felt too difficult at this point, so I left to become stronger, deciding to finish it later. I entered one of the Russian towns, found a weaponsmith, and upgraded my double pistols to masterwork quality for 8000. Yes, you can upgrade weapon tiers with money in this mode. Then I upgraded all my armor until we ran out of money. After that, I started traveling around the world looting more dungeons in order to gather enough money to upgrade all our gear to the maximum level. Then I traveled to the capital of the church, Herringest. After admiring the architecture, I entered the library and found Father Arel. He wanted our help uncovering the story of a controversial figure, Orimius White. Some called him a heretic, others called him a saint. Most of the documents about him were written long after his death, and all of them were heavily biased. Maria wanted to help the father uncover the truth. He sent us to find a man named Wilfried Roth, an infamous peddler. After asking some travelers, we learned he was in Salzburg. He had been captured by bandits, so after dealing with them, we had a talk with Roth. He knew the locations of ancient records related to Orimius White, though he wanted 10,000 gold first. But Maria managed to persuade the greedy fuck to hand them over for free. On the way back, I found an ancient crypt haunted by skeletons and ghouls. Inside was a cult that gave us a quest to become a lich. Again, Maria won't become a lich, but it might be useful for you guys to know the location if you want to play the mod yourselves. After giving the ancient book to the father, he still couldn't fully uncover the true story of Orimius. But what he did discover was the location of the hero's tomb. He sent us to speak with the Lady of Rider's Lock so she could pinpoint the exact location of the tomb. First, we found the party of Ortius the Defiler, the leader of the necromancers infesting the tomb of Orimius. We killed all of them, including the leader, and got the key that opened the gates of the tomb. At the end, I killed the Geist of Orimius. I didn't know whether he would turn hostile if we got too close. Inside his chest, we found his recordings, blade and armor. After giving all our findings to the father, he asked us to wait a couple of days while he investigated everything. We spent those days joining tournaments and clearing more dungeons. Then I found a place that looked like Cathedral of the Deep, mixed with Ironborn aesthetics, filled with octopus-worshipping cultists. Then I completed a small quest and finally returned to Herringest. However, the father wasn't in the library anymore. The cultists had kidnapped him, and the father's scribe turned out to be one of those filthy cultists as well. After killing him, we found a map showing the location of their hideout. We found it and marched in to save the father. After rescuing him, the father shared what he had discovered, the reason Orimius was buried in secret, and why he became such a controversial figure. Apparently, Orimius once fought against an archdemon. He managed to defeat it, but he had to bind the fiend to something so it couldn't escape. That something was Orimius' sword, which obviously turned the blade into a sinful machine of malevolence, Aatrox type of shit. He spent his entire life fighting against the corruption of his own sword. That's why he was buried in secret, so nobody would ever find the blade. And those cultists who kidnapped the father wanted the sword so they could release the archdemon trapped inside it. We had to kill the cult's high priest before he completed the ritual. The rite was going to take place at the exact location where Orimius defeated the demon. So we rushed there immediately and launched an assault on their defenses. But we were too late. The high priest had already managed to free the archdemon. The fiend's name was Krivilas. He thanked us for freeing him, as the cultists apparently couldn't have done it without our help. He wanted Maria to join him, but she resisted. Then they easily beat her into the ground. But suddenly, a golden light appeared in the room. A ghostly paladin stood between Maria and the archdemon. Maria lost consciousness. When she woke up, the fiend was gone, and the paladin was walking toward her. It was Orimius himself. He was disappointed in us for searching his tomb. Now the archdemon was free, and nobody knew what it was truly capable of. But Orimius still believed we could defeat it. He sent us to the Chapel of Sanctification to find an old friend who could help us. And that friend turned out to be a freaking archangel, the arbiter of judgment. She was Orimius' patron and the angel who helped him defeat the archdemon during their first battle. By now, the fiend had already created an army of demons and started rampaging through the lands of the church. So the archangel chose us as her champion, just like Orimius before us, and sent us to deal with the fiend. She also gave us an amulet capable of summoning her in the middle of battle, though it could only be used once. We found the archdemon and his army of 120 and attacked. Our army actually managed to defeat them on their own. We burned the captured archdemon to cinders and sent him back to the underworld. Only his cursed sword remained. We took it and returned to Herringest. We gave the sword to the archangel. She cleansed its corruption and blessed it. Then she gave us a powerful heaven spell, along with the absolutely buffed the fuck up version of Orimius' armor. We were her champion now. The armor and helmet had better defenses than our current gear. On top of that, they granted +1 leadership, iron flesh and first aid, along with passive health regeneration, thanks to the angelic blessing. The angelic blade, however, wasn't really stronger than the moonlight blade. It dealt piercing damage instead of cutting damage, but the overall stats were worse. We also didn't have enough magic power to use the heaven spell yet. Then, the Geist of Orimius appeared once more, thanking us for defeating the archdemon. He also gave us a spell to summon him. We didn't have enough magic power for that either. From the Way Shrine, I bought a spell that summons hallowed warriors. At least we had enough magic power to use that one. I upgraded my demonic armor even further, reaching the maximum lordly tier. I refilled my army from the lodges, then cleared some more dungeons. By the way, we can abuse summon spells as much as we want by using them, restocking them through the chest, and repeating the process over and over again. A nice little exploit for dealing with the high tier dungeons. Then it was time for the final questline before declaring our kingdom. While traveling along the eastern coast, we found a place called the Isolated Chapel. Inside, there were some suspicious-looking men praying. Then we spoke with their father. He welcomed us into his chapel and said this was a sanctuary for the needy and unwanted, far away from the church and its falsehoods. He sensed ambition within Maria. He claimed he could grant the power she desired, but first she needed to complete a small task for him. One of their members was being hunted in the lands of the church, and he wanted us to rescue him. We found the man alone and told him we had come to help. He joined our party and immediately hid behind our soldiers. Then, the Inquisitors arrived and informed us that the man we rescued was a heretic and demon worshipper. We had two choices, either hand him over and side with the church, or kill the Inquisitors and join the demon worshipping cult. Maria, being the good girl she is, handed over the heretic. The Inquisitors then asked Maria to present herself before their leader, Celestine. She asked how we had managed to track the heretic, so Maria told her about the isolated chapel and revealed its location. Even though Celestine told us we were free to leave, Maria still rushed to help them assault the chapel. After rewarding us with some gold and a massive relation boost with the church, Celestine told us about the chapel's past. It had once been a shrine dedicated to the Lady of Silver, and her father had served as its priest. But after her father was murdered by demons, the shrine was abandoned, allowing cultists to take it over. We left the castle, and a few days later, a letter arrived calling us back to the graveyard of the isolated chapel. We traveled there and got ambushed by the risen corpses of the cultists. But then a mysterious figure and her ghostly companion arrived to rescue us. The mysterious woman's name was Reina of the Clock Tower. I guess she and Maria came from the same hometown. She explained that this was not the work of some ordinary ghoul caller, because the undead kept screaming the name Volitria, a man-eating witch with immense demonic power. Reina wanted to pay her a visit, but first she wanted us to meet her at the Inquisitor Keep. Inside, we explained everything to Celestine. She said the cult we were hunting was called Skirstag, and they had already infiltrated the ranks of the church, which meant we could trust no one and were alone in this purge. So it was up to Reina and Maria to deal with the witch and force her to talk. We found the witch's lair and attacked. After killing her, we found a letter addressed to Jaren, an influential bishop of the church. We returned to the Inquisitor Keep to show the letter to Celestine, but she was nowhere to be found. So Maria, being the genius woman she is, couldn't keep her mouth shut and told the acolyte about the bishop. He sent us to a location where we were supposedly meant to meet her. As you can probably guess, Celestine had already been captured and we got ambushed by heavily armored cultists. Reina told us about the private mansion of the treacherous bishop and said we might find important information there, but she wanted to gather some allies first, so we had to infiltrate the mansion alone. Inside the mansion's dungeons, we encountered the treacherous acolyte and killed him. Then we found Celestine locked inside a cell. We rescued her and reunited with Reina. The ally she found was none other than the Lady of Rider's Luck, who had helped us during the Orimius White questline. Then I realized something. Every ally we've had so far has been a hot woman, while all our enemies have been ugly men. This is starting to feel like some kind of a harem anime. Evelyn explained that publicly accusing the bishop would be pointless. With his immense influence, he could simply laugh off our evidence and order all of our executions. So the girls decided the best solution was to ambush his carriage and kill him instead. We waited for his arrival and launched the attack. But the man Maria shot wasn't the corrupt bishop at all. He was merely a decoy. We had been fooled. And now that we had attacked one of the church's carriages and slaughtered its men, the Church of the Tree declared war on us. The others might avoid immediate persecution, but the same couldn't be said for Maria. These lands were no longer safe for her. Reina joined our party so we could continue the investigation without the help of the others. Maria asked about Reina's summon. She explained that he rarely spoke about anything other than praying to the Lady of Silver, and that she knew neither his backstory nor why he had chosen her. A few days later, the summon approached Maria and asked her to return to the isolated chapel. He claimed that deep within the mausoleum, something important awaited behind the illusion of death. We returned, and after breaking the illusion hidden within a statue, we unlocked a secret passage. At the end stood a figure with grey wings. She was none other than the Lady of Silver herself, the Archangel of Battle. She had been chained by her own priests for years, forced to witness their vile actions while only barely managing to protect the victims with the little magic she had left. Reina's summon had been among those who died under the Lady of Silver's protection, which was how he had been able to communicate with her. The corrupt bishop had visited recently and punished the angel because he believed she was the one who gave us the evidence against him. We broke her chains and she joined our party. Then we reported back to Celestine. Unfortunately, she didn't do much other than handing us a few high-tier troops. Then, while traveling on the campaign map, I got caught by a church army. We won, though we suffered 14 casualties. I released the enemy lord to gain more honor, then we marched toward the corrupt bishop himself. He had 225 men on his side, nearly double our numbers. I thought our ranged troops could carry us. I was wrong. I spent half an hour trying different strategies, but nothing worked. Their troops were simply too elite, too many cavalry units. Our army was also fully high tier, and our party size was maxed out, but it still wasn't enough. Was this really it? Would Maria have to accept that she had been defeated by a corrupt bishop? That she had failed to protect the purity of the church and the innocence of the people? Was this truly the limit of her power? What if it wasn't? What if she fully embraced her undead blood? What if she became the necessary evil required to defeat the true evil? What if the greatest sacrifice she could make for her people was her own purity? Between the Archduchy and the County of Kriegen, Maria found her ancestral home. There was no one inside. She locked herself in to spend the night. But strange noises echoed from downstairs, making it impossible for her to sleep. After dealing with the Geist, Maria went back to bed. About half an hour later, she heard more voices, screams, footsteps, doors creaking open. All the skeletons were dead. She returned to bed once again, but when she woke up, the air was filled with dark mist, and a corpse lay upon her bed. Then even more corpses came to visit. Finally, Maria's vampire father decided to show himself. He shared his royal blood with her, and Maria embraced her true nature. She became a lion among sheep, a child of the night. Her skin turned pale, and her eyes became as white as the moon, which somehow only made her even hotter. She traveled to the vampire tower, where they welcomed her as one of their own. Then she bought the Blood Bolt spell from their blood priestess. It had an area of effect, decent damage, and was much faster than a gun. I cleared a few werewolves and robber knights with our new spell. It was kinda hard to aim though, because it starts as a normal projectile and only explodes after hitting something. So if you miss the first part, nothing happens. And for some reason, the cursor is bigger than even Cleopatra's butt. Maybe increasing our throwing proficiency and putting a few points into horse archery would help. I looted an abandoned workshop. We could no longer recruit troops from the church lodges, since they hated us for becoming a vampire. The Knights of Bruvik, however, were more than happy to join us. As our final service to the Church of the Tree, we returned to the bishop. It was time for payback. At least we managed to retreat without too many casualties. We waited for Maria to heal, then attacked again. They were still much stronger than us, even with the blood bolts. But thanks to our surgeon, we were taking fewer casualties than the enemy. I restocked my troops in the lands of Bruvik, while the kind bishop patiently waited for us to return. We suffered 50 casualties. The enemy lost 70. But all our troops were unconscious. Maria became the bishop's prisoner and our army was reset to 0. I traveled from town to town recruiting high-tier troops to rebuild the army. Our money was almost depleted. I returned to the bishop. This time, the numbers were nearly equal. We lost 50 men. They lost 90. I didn't want to risk imprisonment again, so I retreated to replenish my forces. Our companions were getting pretty upset. After recruiting more lancers, our entire treasury was gone. But now, we outnumbered the bishop 3-1. Time for the final round. The bishop was finally defeated. The Lady of Silver asked him to repent so his soul could be spared. The idiot refused. Moments later, a swarm of demons burst from the ground and dragged the bishop into hell, where he would be tortured and humiliated forever. As his screams faded away, the skies finally cleared. The Lady of Silver thanked Maria for her help, then took flight to end this evil once and for all. Yeah, we're literally playing as the Archangel now. She found the evil vampire lady behind the entire scheme and raised her sword against her and her minions. After the vampire lady died, the profane Prince of Dark and Ice himself appeared to challenge the Lady of Silver, and he really was broken as hell. Thankfully, so was she. With the prince defeated, Vasnar was saved from the grasp of hell. At least for now. With her mission complete, the angel returned to heaven. As for Maria, Celestine rewarded her with her family sword, though it honestly wasn't that impressive compared to our angelic blade. Then a courier arrived. Lady Maria had officially been pardoned by the church. The fuckers had finally accepted the bishop's treachery. We were no longer at war with them, though we still couldn't recruit their troops thanks to our moonlight eyes. I took the Geist essences from our storage chest and started using them to summon gargoyles. Pretty strong dudes. We could also summon skeletons and ghouls, and those didn't even require sacrifices. But since summoning them involved stealing corpses from graveyards, it carried a chance of lowering our relations with the church and could even spawn angry mobs or Inquisitor parties. After rebuilding our army, I returned to Devil's Mouth to finally gather the last 2 pieces of demonic armor. We didn't have enough strength to wear the demonic chest piece. Its resistances were absurd, but considering Orimius' armor also provided passive health regeneration, not wearing the demonic chest might actually be more beneficial. 3 pieces of demonic armor mixed with the holiest chest piece in existence, a perfect representation of Maria herself, the bloodiest evil and the mightiest light sharing the same body at once. I upgraded the demonic helmet with the blacksmith, then spent week after week waiting for my workshops and mercenary contract to refill the treasury, winning a few battles here and there in the meantime. Then, inside the Tavern of Whittle, Maria met a woman named Ella. She was the former wife of a famous war hero. According to her, the man knew how to love just as well as he knew how to fight. But around 6 months ago, a suspicious woman arrived at their palace and her husband completely fell for her. The guy would literally forget to eat because he spent all day staring at her. Then he started calling Ella an ugly bitch, claimed their bed had no room for 3 people, and eventually kicked her out. Ella believed the woman was a witch, maybe even a vampire, and she wanted our help breaking the spell over her husband. By the way, you can't start this quest without 11 or more charisma. I guess you need enough riz before Ella feels comfortable opening up about her husband. Anyway, we traveled to the convent of battle mages in search of a way to break the spell. The archmage explained that an amulet could do exactly that. But first, we had to defeat the strongest warrior of their covenant to prove ourselves worthy. The poor guy got two-shotted by our blood bolt. The archmage handed us the amulet and we traveled to the husband's castle. His knights refused to let us inside, so we slaughtered all of them. Then came the garrison inside the walls. And finally, we reached the hall itself. The husband and the suspicious woman attacked Maria, so we killed them too. The woman had crimson wings and horns. She seems much worse than a vampire. Then we returned to Ella to deliver the wonderful news about the massacre. She was devastated to learn about her husband's death. Still gave us the money though. There's probably a better ending to this quest, but I have no idea what I did wrong. I cleared a few more dungeons. And waited a little longer for more passive income to roll in. We needed that sweet cash because it was finally time for the last and most dangerous chapter of this story. Now rejected by the church after embracing her true nature, Maria had nowhere left to go, except her father's lands, the lands of the vampire counts. Not to join them, but to destroy them. She knew that as long as her kind continued to exist, the suffering of Vasnar would never truly end. She had to end it once and for all, even if she had to do it completely alone. The vampires had taken many lands from the Archduchy, but they had failed to properly garrison most of them. Videns had a hilarious garrison of only 15 men. The undead refused to surrender the walls, so we slaughtered them. It was time to name our kingdom, the Crimson Order. Maria relaxed inside her throne room, then released her human-looking female prisoners. We raised more skeletons to refill the army and dealt with the Inquisitors who tried to stop us. After becoming queen, our party size had nearly tripled. We could now command up to 280 men, so I performed even more necromancy and dealt with even more Inquisitors. Their lives were a necessary sacrifice for the greater good of Vasnar. Then it was time to pick our banner. This one looked the most Lady Maria-ish. I chose dark crimson as our kingdom color, then moved toward our next target, Vital, defended by a garrison of 100 men. We added the rescued prisoners to our army, performed more necromancy, and filled the garrison with low-tier troops. Next target, Surstein Castle, defended by 75 men. Unfortunately, we had to build a siege tower for this completely unimportant castle, which wasted a ridiculous amount of time because of a stupid mechanic. Meanwhile, a vampire count had besieged Vital. We destroyed his army before the siege could even begin. While dealing with him, another vampire countess laid siege to the castle we had just conquered. She got dealt with too. Not long after, yet another count arrived to besiege the exact same castle. Eventually, we hunted him down and defeated him as well. Meanwhile, Videns was being besieged by the church. They could have the place. Just another gift from Maria. I raised more skeletons and massacred a massive mob of angry peasants. Then it was finally time to invade the true lands of the vampires, starting with Bloodgate, the fortress the Empire had failed to breach for years. It only had a garrison of 300 though, so honestly, I have no idea how they never captured it. We won with 35 casualties. Next, the siege of Foltworth Castle, the hardest battle we had faced so far. A massive garrison of 700 undead against our 400. Yes, 400. Our party size kept increasing as we gained more territory. Before the siege could even finish, a vampire army made up of another 700 undead intercepted us. We stood our ground. By the way, after our character gets knocked out, Orimius's armor continues healing us in the background, so if we wait until our health rises above 30%, we can retreat and re-engage without entering the wounded state. Another perfectly balanced feature. By abusing the hell out of this mechanic, I eventually defeated the army of 700. More than 100 of our troops still died though. Despite that, I launched the assault on the castle anyway. I ordered my troops to stay behind while I climbed the ladders alone and unleashed the full power of the blood bolts until I ran out of ammo. Then I retreated to restock, only for the game to crash directly into my face. I reloaded and continued abusing the fuck out of the blood bolts. The strategy worked. Half our army was dead, but the castle was ours. And this was basically the hardest thing the game could throw at us. I had checked the vampire capital in another save, and it also only had 700 defenders. So yeah, Maria had truly become an unstoppable vampire empress. Now it was time to have some fun. After rebuilding our army with noble vampire troops and skeletons, I closed the game and opened the mod files. I modified the Blood Bolt spell to make it faster, more accurate, and capable of holding even more ammo, basically turning it into a vampiric minigun. Enjoy the quick montage. With the recapture of Surstein Castle, the vampire counts were no more. All their lands had been taken, all their lords chained. Meanwhile, the church had begun reclaiming even our vampire territories, eventually going as far as besieging our capital, Drakenhair Manor. But when Maria cornered their bishop in the mountains, they offered peace. I guess they remembered what happened to the last bishop. Maria accepted, and peace with the church was finally secured. There was no more fighting left for Maria. It was finally time to rest. One day, Hermenegild arrived at her palace. With all the racist vampire counts eliminated, the two half-bloods could finally be together. They laid inside a coffin while Horvik nailed it shut. And if some undead horror ever rises again in the future, he will be the one to awaken these two heroines once more. And with that, another journey comes to an end. Huge thanks to War Thunder for supporting the channel. Make sure to check it out for free on PC, console or mobile. You can find my links in the description and pinned comment to grab that bonus pack for new and returning players on PC or console. Premium vehicles, the Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions and 7 days of premium. It's a lot of free loot for zero effort. Shout out to all my channel members. See you all in the next one.